Valentine's Day coming up next month, why not start early and get making our next amigurumi together? So today what we're going to do is we are going to make Lynn the Ladybug. You can make her in whatever size you'd like, really. So if you want to use the acrylic type yarns like your standard red heart or big twist yarns, then you can go ahead and make those and make a little one. Or you could do your blanket yarn right here with a larger crochet hook, and I will tell you all those details here coming up. Let's dive in, you guys. Let's just get started. Let's make our little ladybird or your ladybug, depending on where you're from. See you in a minute. Okay, so what we have here is I've got the colors I'm using here for the ladybug and then the little cheek mark colors. So you could go either way if you're doing the same color pattern as I am. I've also got my 10mm safety eyes, just a little tiny, it's not a very long piece, but it's a piece long enough to do some eye markings around the safety eyes. So white yarn is what you'll need, just a little bit. And then I've got my 3.5mm crochet hook. Now, if you guys are doing the blanket yarn pattern, you're going to need some different items here, okay? So you're going to be needing a 6-weight blanket yarn. It could be Bernat. That's the one I usually use, but there are others as well that will be in the same size and weight. You will need a 7mm or 6 depending on your tension and how tight you make your stitches. I usually use the 7mm, but you can go down from there. You'll also need the 18mm safety eyes as well. So this is if you are doing the larger size ladybird or ladybug, right? Just pick out 2 colors that you're going to use. One is for the body, one is for the wings. And the one that you use on the body also goes for the spots on the wings, okay? And then have your little bit that you're using. If you're using the Bernat blanket, make sure you're using that as well for the cheek marks. Okay, let's go ahead and start, you guys. Okay, so we are starting with the ladybug's body. So we need to go ahead and start with a chain 10. So we're just going to go ahead and wrap the yarn around our fingers and pull that tail through the circle that you made. Grab the tail end and your working yarn here, and then you can just pull that loop. Okay, so that's just a slip knot on your hook here. Now you can tighten it around the hook. All right, so that's just to get us started. Now we need a chain 10. So there's 1, yarn over, pull through is a chain, 2, yarn over, pull through, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Perfect. Okay, now that we've finished the chain, we're going to do 2 single crochets in the second chain from our hook. So not this first one here, but into this second one. You're going to go in through the V in the middle to the back, yarn over, pull forward a loop, yarn over, and pull through. That's a single crochet. We're going to do another one in that same stitch. So we're increasing in this first one here, okay? Now we're going to work up the line of the chain. We're going to do 7 single crochets. So we're working on one side, and then we'll be continuing on the other side of the chain, okay? So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, we've got one more chain here. In the last one, we will increase. So go ahead and do 2 in this last one. So it's 1 single crochet. Now do another one in the same stitch. There's 2. All right, now we're continuing on the other side of the chain. So we're going to start with an increase. So on that opposite side, you just go in again and do an increase here. There's 1 and 2. Okay, now we'll do 7 single crochets up the length of the other side of the chain here. So, all right, and then we're increasing in the last one right here and do one more increase. Okay, so 2 single crochets in that one stitch. All right, so we've made our oval shape here. So now we can place our stitch markers. Grab your stitch marker. I've got my little pink one here. And place that on your working loop here that you've got. Okay, now we're going to start going and continuing on with round 2. We're going to do 2 increases. So we're going into the first increase that you made, right? Into each of those stitches, and we're going to increase into each of those stitches now. So we're putting 2 into each of these here. So we're building up the body. All right, so there's 1 and 2 in that one, and then we'll go into the next one and we'll do an increase in that one as well. Now we're going to just do 7 single crochets as we work down the line again. And now that we have reached the end, we've got, remember how we did our increase here on one side and we did our increases here on the other side? Now we're going to do 4 increases, okay? We're building up those sides. So we're increasing 4 times as we go around this bend. There's 2 increases. Next one. 3 and 4. All right, let's do 7 single crochets and working along this other side of our work here. So we'll do 7 single crochets. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, we're down to the last 2 here. We're going to do 2 more increases. So 2 in each. 1 more. Or replace your stitch marker here. All right, so now we've done the first 2 rounds. We're going on to round 3. We're going to start doing this single crochet and increase on those ones from the prior round that we did those increases. So we'll do single crochet 1, then in the next one we're doing an increase, then we're going to do that again. So single crochet 1 in the next, and then an increase in the next. Okay, now we'll do 7 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now we're going to do that pattern again, the single crochet and the increase, and we're doing that 4 times as we round the bend, okay? So single crochet in the next, then an increase, then a single crochet in the next, and another increase. And we're doing the same, single crochet in the next, and an increase, and then one more time, single crochet, and increase. Okay, now we'll do our another 7 single crochets working along the side there. There's 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then ending it out again, single crochet and then an increase 2 times. Single crochet in the next, there we go, and one more increase, okay? So this is the end of round 3. You should have 38 stitches, so if you're not sure, go ahead and you can count around, but you should have 38 stitches. Now replace your stitch marker here. Now for round 4, we're going to start with just 2 single crochets. So here's 1, and then in the next one, there's another one. Now we're going to do 3 increases, okay? So 1, there we're increasing. Now in the next we're going to increase, and in the next we're going to increase, okay? So we did that 3 times. Now we're going to go 11 single crochets along the side. Now we'll start doing single crochet and increase 3 times. So that pattern again, okay? Single crochet and increase. There's 1. Single crochet and increase. There's 2. Single crochet and increase. That's the last increase there. There's 3, okay? Now we'll do 11 single crochets continuing down this side of the ladybug. 3 more increases. So 1, let's go into the next one, do another increase, and into that third one we're doing another increase, and then we're just finishing off with 2 single crochets. So it's going to start building up the body. It's changing its shape, okay? So you'll notice that we're building this differently on either side, right? So this is where the face is going to be on this side, and this is where the back side of your ladybug is going to be, okay? So you're adding more around the top part than you are down here, okay? So it's slowly going to build its shape. So replace your stitch marker. All right, so now you should have a total of 47 stitches. We're starting round 5. So we'll start with 3 single crochets and then an increase, and we'll do that pattern twice. So 1, 2, 3, and an increase. So remember 2 and then 1. 1, 2, 3, and increase. Okay, now we'll do another 11 single crochets down the side. Okay, now we're going to do 3 single crochets and an increase 2 times. 1, 2, 3. Do your increase. One more time. 1, 2, 3, and then an increase. Okay, now do another 11 single crochets. So now we're going to do 3 single crochets and an increase 2 times. So 1, 2, 3, increase. 1, 2, 3, and increase again. And you should have 1 stitch left. So you'll do 1 single crochet and then replace your stitch marker. Okay. Round 6, we are starting with 4 single crochets and an increase and doing that 2 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochets and an increase. Okay. Now do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and an increase. Okay, now do 11 single crochets down the line. 1, 11. Okay, now let's do that pattern again. 4 single crochets and an increase 2 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. Okay, now do 11 single crochets. 11. Okay, now do your 4 single crochets and an increase 2 times. That's 2, 3, 4, and an increase. And you'll notice it is kind of bendy, and that's okay because we're going to be stuffing it and that will push everything out. It's just going to give it the shape that we want. So let's see, 3 and 4, increase, and you should have 1 more stitch left. So do another single crochet here in that last one. Replace your stitch marker. We have 1 more round where we're going to be building up and increasing, okay? And then we'll start going and building up the body. So let's do 5 single crochets and an increase 2 times. So 1, oops, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase. Okay, now we're going to do 11 single crochets. Now do the pattern 5 single crochets and an increase 2 more times. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now an increase. 1 and 2 and the 1. Okay, do that again. So 5 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another increase. Okay, now do another 11 single crochets. Now we're going to do the 5 single crochets and an increase 2 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase. Okay, and then again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase. Okay, and then one more stitch there. Do your single crochet there at the end. Okay, there we go. Now replace your stitch marker. So we've built it up to the size that it's going to be, okay? So that it's not going to be a huge ladybug, but it's going to be a cute ladybug, that's for sure. And you can take this strand here and you can weave it in. If you have any gaping like I do, I have a little bit of a bigger hole there than I would like. So I can take this and weave this in through here and create a tighter stitch there. So that way it doesn't have any kind of like holes like that, okay? So the other thing you can do is go down in hook size if you ever have issues like that where your stitches aren't tight enough or something like that. You can always go down in your size hook, okay? So just a little tip there. All right, so now that we finished round 7, you should have 65 stitches all the way around here. We're going to go ahead in round 8 and do a single crochet around in the back loops only, okay? So if you're looking at the braid, this is the front loop, this is the back loop. So we're only picking up that back loop there and we're leaving that front ridge, okay? And that's going to help us to give it a little bit of an interest, a visual interest underneath, and also know where to place the feet once we get to that point, okay? So we're just single crocheting all the way around and we're just picking up that back loop, you guys, okay? So leave the front loop. See how we're leaving that front loop right there? We're leaving that one alone. We do not want to pick that one up. We're leaving that nice ridge all the way around as the under part of the ladybug. I will meet you back at the end of this round and we will start the next round. All right, so we've finished going around round 8. You can see that nice ridge here all the way around. Now we're going to start round 9. Round 9 starts with 3 single crochets and an invisible decrease, and we're going to do that 2 times. So we do 1, 2, 3, and this is going through both loops, you guys, okay? You only did that one ridge. Now we're back to both loops. So if you want to do an invisible decrease, you go through the front loops only of the first one, then go into the next one, front loop only, okay, just like this. Yarn over from the back, pull forward through those 2. Now yarn over one more time and pull through, okay? That's an invisible decrease. So now we're going to do that again. So 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then an invisible decrease. Okay, going through those front loops there. All right. Now we'll go ahead and do 3 single crochets and an increase. Okay, we're doing that 4 times. Now we're going to build up the sides. So there's 1, 2, 3 single crochets and an increase. Okay, 1, 2, then do that again, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and an increase. Okay, again, 1, 2, 3, increase. One more time. 1, 2, 3, and an increase. Okay, now we'll do 15 single crochets to get around the back side here. So 15 of them. 1, now we're going to do increasing again. We're going to do increase 3 single crochets. So we're making sure that they're matching on either side. So increase three single crochets and do that 4 times. So here's our increase. 3 single crochets. Do that again. There's an increase. 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. Again, increase. 3 single crochets. One more time, increase. 3 single crochets. Okay, and then once you get there and finished with the pattern, then we'll do an invisible decrease. So in the front loops of the next 2, then do 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and 3. Invisible decrease again, and 1 more single crochet. Okay, so at the end there you should have 69 stitches, and now we're going to do rounds 10 and 11, which are just single crocheting all the way around. All right, so I will meet you back at the end of round 11. So remember, you're doing 2 rounds of single crochets all the way around, okay? So we will start round 12 in just a moment. Okay, so we've done our 2 rounds of single crochets. You still have 69 stitches. We're going to start round 12 now with 8 single crochets. Okay, now we're going to do the pattern 3 single crochets and an invisible decrease 4 times. All right, so 1, 2, 3, invisible decrease in those front loops here. Okay, and then again, 1, 2, 3, invisible decrease again, and again, 1, 2, 3, invisible decrease, whoops. And then again, one more time, 1, 2, 3, invisible decrease. Okay, now 15 single crochets around the back side. Now do invisible decrease and 3 single crochets 4 times. So again, we're flipping it around. Invisible decrease, 3 single crochets, invisible decrease, 3 single crochets, that's 2, invisible decrease, and 3 single crochets, that's 3, 1 more, invisible decrease, 3 single crochets. Okay, And then now you should have 6 single crochets left. You're going to do 6 single crochets to the end. That's the end of that round. Let's replace our stitch marker here. Now for round 13, we're going to start with 24 single crochets, okay? So just 24, and I will meet you when we get to the next part of this round. 23 and 24. Okay, so now we're going around the back side here again. We're going to now start decreasing along the back side to give him his little booty here. So we need to do 2 single crochets and an invisible decrease 4 times. Right, so there's 1 and 2 single crochets and then an invisible decrease. So we're going to start decreasing it more quickly here. All right, there's the invisible decrease. 2 single crochets, invisible decrease. Oops. Two single crochets, invisible decrease, that's 3. We're going to do that one more time. 2 single crochets, invisible decrease, and then we're finishing off this round with 21 single crochets until you get to your stitch marker. Okay, so go ahead and do that now. I'll meet you at the end of this round. So you should have 57 stitches, so replace your stitch marker. We're going to go ahead and start round 14. And again, we're starting with 24 single crochets, so keep on going around 24 single crochets. I'll meet you at the end of those, and then we'll start decreasing the back side again. Okay, we've done 24 stitches. Now we're going to do the pattern single crochet, invisible decrease 4 times. Okay, so let's do that together, single crochet, and then we'll do our invisible decrease here. Single crochet, invisible decrease, single crochet, invisible decrease, that's 3. Last one, single crochet, invisible decrease. Okay, after that, we're doing 21 single crochets again to get to the end of the round. You'll have 53 stitches at the end of this round. I will meet you there, and then we will do the next round together. Okay, so that's the end of round 14. We're going to start round 15. So let's replace our stitch marker here. We're keeping going with 24 single crochets until we get towards the back side, and then we're going to do some more invisible decreases, okay? So do 24 single crochets. I'll meet you at the end of that. Okay, we've done 24. Now we've gotten to the back side again. We're going to now do 4 invisible decreases, okay? So let's do those together. So just in those front loops. 1, 2, 3, almost looks like a shoe, doesn't it? All right, and there's 4. Okay, so now we've done the decreases. Now we're going to finish this round off again, 21 single crochets. So let's finish those, and I will meet you at the end of round 15 with 49 stitches. Okay, so we finished the round. Replace your stitch marker. So for round 16, we're going to start with 12 single crochets. So we can do those together here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, now we're going to do 2 single crochets and an invisible decrease 2 times. So here's 1, 2, invisible decrease, Okay, do that again. So 1, 2, invisible decrease. Okay, now we're going to do 2 single crochets and an increase. Okay, we're going to now build up the body a little bit here. So 1, 2, and you're doing this 4 times. Okay, so 1, 2, and then increase. That's the pattern. So there's 1. Do it again. So 2 single crochets. Whoops, come on. 1, 2, and an increase. So increase is 2 and 1. And there's 2. Again, 2 single crochets. So there's 1. Here's 2, and an increase. Okay, and the last one, 1, 2, and an increase. Okay, so now we're going to do 2 single crochets and an invisible decrease 2 times. So now we're decreasing again. 1, 2, invisible decrease. And one more time. 1, 2, invisible decrease. And then finish this round, which is 9 stitches here. We're going to finish that with single crochets, okay? So you should end up with 49 stitches still. Replace your stitch marker. Now for rounds 17 and 18, we're single crocheting all the way around. So that's 2 rounds with single crochets around. So go ahead and do those now, and I will meet you back when we're ready to start round 19. Okay, so we finished rounds 18. Now we're going to start round 19. Round 19, we're starting with 4 single crochets and an invisible decrease, and we're doing that pattern 4 times, okay? So let's do that together. 1, 2, 3, 4, invisible decrease, and then do that again. 2, 3, 4, invisible decrease. Apologies for the squeaky yarn. Now that I've said that, that's all you're going to hear. And we're doing it again. So there's 4 single crochets, invisible decrease. So now we're just sort of gradually finishing the head up here. And one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, invisible decrease. Okay, now that we finished that pattern, we're going to do 2 invisible decreases here at the back. So here's 1, and there's 2. And then we're going to do that same pattern again, 4 single crochets and an invisible decrease. This time we're doing it 3 times. So 3, 4, invisible decrease. There's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, invisible decrease. So that's 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and invisible decrease, okay? And then single crochet 3 in the last 3 here. So just finishing it off with those 3 single crochets. And so at the end of this round, you will have 40 stitches, and you're welcome to count if you need to. And now we're going to go ahead, we're going to do the next 2 rounds on our own as they are just single crochets around. So we'll meet back at round 22 when we'll start doing more decreasing and also attach the facial details. Okay, so just single crochets around for 2 rounds. Okay, so the next part, now that we've finished round 21, is that we need to place the eyes and do the mouth, the little cheek markings. So what we're going to do is we're going to start counting from the underside. We need to place the eyes between rounds 12 and 13, okay? So let's grab our safety eyes here, and we're going to count. So there's our first one we did. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So it's between these two rounds. So I'm just going to tentatively put that there. Okay, and I really like the setting here of these eyes, so I'm going to try to match that up on this one. So this is where I'm placing my eyes, so you can just take a look here. Okay. So if you want to count the stitches, there's 10 stitches in between of either eye, and then if you look on the bottom, you can see that it's kind of also in line with these lines here a little bit. All right, so once you're happy with the placement, you can go ahead and do the backings. Perfect. All right, so now that we've got the eyes in, we can go ahead and start doing the little embroidered details. And so we need our white thread and then whatever color you're going to use for your cheek markings, okay? So I'm going to start with my white. All right, so we're going to make little white marks along either side of the eyes. You can do one of two things. You can knot the end, or you can go back to where you started at the end, and you can tie them off on the inside. That's kind of your two ways of getting the other side to be not coming through, right? So I'm going to go ahead and knot the end here. Okay. It's nice and snug in there. All right, I'm going to come down to the bottom part of the eye, going back onto the inside here. All right, you can see it's going along the outside of the eye, which is where you want it. Now do the same on the other side. So you don't want to pull too tight because you don't want it to start doing a different shape to the face. You just want to pull tight enough so that it lays across the front of the face, just like inside that. Okay, so I'm not going too tight. The stuffing will also help keep it in place as well. All right, and then I'm going to go back down also around the same area as the other eye so they match. Pulling that through. There we go. See? There's those two little eye markings. Now they also sell sometimes sinker eyes, they're called. So you could do those as well. Those are a safety eye that has a kind of a backing to it as well. So it gives you that effect without having to do embroidered details. I don't have that right now, so that's why we're doing it this way. But you have options. You always have options, right? All right, so now I'm just tying it off on the inside, creating a knot there on the other side. Tie it off a couple times. And then we'll need our other shade of pink or whatever color you're using to do the cheek marks. Okay, so for the cheek marks, we're kind of doing the same thing, but we're going to go from the side where the white is to the other side of the eye underneath the eye, right? So we're still doing straight stitching, but we're putting it on the bottom part of the eye. I'm just tying off my end here. Okay. I'm going through the stitch just underneath the eye. Then I'm going to come out just beyond the white for the cheek mark, and I'm going to do a couple of stitches here. Okay, so there's one. Now we're going to go to the other side, do the same thing, making sure you're about even to what you did on the other side there. And there's two, okay? So there's those. Now we need to do the smile. Okay, so we've got the cheeks the cheeks and the eye markings, but we need the smile. So you could use the same pink if you wanted to. Now, if you're doing the black ladybug, then you might really want to do something that is pink in some sort of tone. So this one I did a little lighter pink than I did on the cheek markings. The other option would be you could do a black on the lighter color because this one will show black, right? Whereas this one will not show black. So I'm going to grab some black thread and do the mouth on this ladybug. But first, let's go ahead and tie this end off if you're not using this color for the mouth. So for the mouth, I've got just a little piece of black embroidery thread, but you can use yarn or whatever you have available. And the mouth is going to go in line with the eyes. Okay, so it's kind of over where round 13 is right here. Now, this is all personal preference, so whatever you guys really want your ladybug to look like, you know, just this is where you get to give it a little bit of personality. So through the stitch so that the knot is trapped in the back or in the inside of our work. Okay, so looking at the eye and seeing the distance, I'm going to try to mimic that over on this side. All right, so I've got the embroidery thread. I've given myself about the same amount on either side. I'm going to pull the needle, but before I pull it, so you can have it straight across like that if you like. Then that's actually pretty cute. I think that's very cute. Or you can bring it down a little bit. You know, however you want. You could do like a chibi mouth where you go down on either side and then go up in the middle. It's almost kind of more of a cat sort of mouth. You could go up. I mean, you could do however you want, really. But I'll just do what we've done in the past with the other ladybug, and that's just to pull it down slightly here. Okay, so you're going to go basically come up where you want the U bend to be. And you're going around the thread back into the same space that your thread's coming out of to trap that thread in between, okay? And then that's what pulls it down into a smile, okay? So you could do little cheek marks if you want, however you want to, you know, go to town. Anything you want to do, you could do it. You could make little eyelashes you could do. That would be cute. Right? Make a little girl one to go with the little boy. I mean, there's so many options here. But once you're done, then you do the same thing. You're going ahead and grabbing the back part of a stitch and tying off your thread just as you normally would. I would tie it off at least a couple times here. Just make sure it's really nicely fastened. All right. And then you can cut that away. Just like so. All right, there we go. So now you've got the details done here on the face, got the little cheeks and everything. So once you finish with that, we can continue on with our crocheting. And the next part we're going to do is round 22. So for round 22, we're going to start getting into where we get to just have kind of a set closure, right? Because that's all we're doing is we're going to slowly start closing the head. So round 22 is 3 single crochets and an invisible decrease, and we're doing that pattern all the way around. Okay, so we'll do the first set together here. So that was 1, 2, and 3 single crochets and an invisible decrease. Okay, and then just keep on doing that same pattern, 3 single crochets and an invisible decrease until you reach your stitch marker, and I will meet you back to start the next round. All right, so we have finished round 22. We're replacing our stitch marker. Round 23 is going to be 16 single crochets to start. So let's do those first. Okay, now we're doing 2 invisible decreases here in the back. So let's do the first one. Okay, and next one and the next 2 stitches. All right, perfect. And now we're going to finish this round off with 12 single crochets. replace your stitch marker. All right, I think we can probably, let's start stuffing. Let's start stuffing, and that way when we get to the top, we'll just see if we need any more. Little booty there. Okay, I think this will fit in there, and then we can start closing it up. We'll add a little bit more as we need to, but that's giving us a really cute little shape for our ladybug. Okay, so now let's grab our hook, and in the next round, round 24, we're going to do the pattern single crochet and then an invisible decrease. Okay, so invisible decrease is next. And that pattern we're doing 10 times. We're going all the way around doing the single crochet and then an invisible decrease. So go ahead and do that now, and I will meet you back and we'll see what the next round brings. Finish that round, and for the next 2 rounds you're basically just going to be invisible decreasing all the way around. So around 25 you should end up with 10 stitches. Around 26 you're going to end up with 5 stitches, and that will allow you to finish off and use that weaving in end here to in the front loops only to close that gap. Okay, so let's go ahead and just start doing some invisible decreases, but make sure before you get all the way to the finish line here that if you need to stuff any more, you're just keeping that in mind. Okay, so don't close the gap so far that you can't stuff a little bit extra in if you need to. So that's the only thing you need to keep in mind as you close this hole on the top of his head, is if you need to stuff a little titch more, you just do that as you work. Okay, so let's go ahead and come back at the end of round 26. You should only have 5 stitches left, and we'll go ahead and weave that final end here through to close up the gap. Alright, so once we have finished round 26, you're going to do a slip stitch in the next, like so. Okay, so now pull that loop out, get your scissors, and leave a bit of a tail here because we need to tie this thread through the front loops only of these stitches and close that little gap there on top. Okay, so grab your yarn needle here. All right, so you're going through the front loop only, then in through the next front loop. So you're going from out to in, then from the inside back to the outside. Gently pull, don't pull tight yet. Turn it, okay, outside in, inside out on the next stitch. Gently pull. Okay, and that was the last one, so we just go around that same way. And then now you can just gently pull that tight. Okay, all right, so once you're happy with that, go ahead and pick up 1 stitch somewhere on the body. Doesn't matter as long as it's the same color. Everything is the same color, so that's good. Okay, so you just pick up the stitch, you tie a knot, lift up your knot, and you can kind of see underneath, there's a little space underneath your knot, right? Like right in there. Okay, so I'm going to go into that space, coming out somewhere else, doesn't matter where. And gently pull, and that tucks that little knot onto the inside of our work. And now we can cut this thread away, like so, and wiggle that end in. Okay, so that's the little body of our ladybug. Okay, so we've just finished the first part. The second part is going to be to do the antennas, the feet, attach them on, and then we can move on to the wings. Okay, so I will meet you back on part 2.